Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show called We Are the People. As usual, my name is Jacob Milton. Every week, I become lucky to get some important people on my show, and we talk about subject which is related to our daily life. Ladies and gentlemen, everyone knows, especially in New York at Queens County, that there will be election on June 25th. You are wondering that probably Donald Trump or some other people are running for that election. No. It is one of the important elections of the lifetime for the residents of Queens County. Why I says that? There's a primary, Democratic primary for the position of Queens District Attorney. For the last 28 years, you can say almost 30 years, there is no election for that position. Someone was holding that office. At the end of his career, he was half dead and half alive. He couldn't even recognize his own children. Still, he was running Queens District Attorney's office. What a democratic and successful country and society we are living. There's a lot of complaint I heard that person was not living in Queens County for the last over 2 decades. Still, he was holding that position. However, now new election is coming. Democratic Party in Queens County, there's a lot of people. In the primary, there are 7 candidates, those who are running for that position. Out of 7 candidates, lots of people, they describe themselves, they're qualified, they're well equipped to run Queens District Attorney's office, and they have the quality and qualification to run 300 attorneys, 400 administrative staff, and some other people. Wow, and they're going to sit down over close to $1 billion budget. Today, I was thinking that get a couple of people who are very much aware of the condition or situation in regards to the Queens District Attorney's office, as well as in the future, who has broader knowledge that if someone wants to reform Queens District Attorney's office from top to bottom, how to do it, when to do it, and why it's not done yet. So today, I invited 2 important guests. Both of them are practicing attorney. They're very much familiar with the system. They're very much familiar with the Queens District Attorney's office, and they're watching that how that election is going forward on June 25th. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to invite all of you to meet my today's guest, 2 individuals. On my right hand, I'd like to introduce you. He is Attorney Ed Kratt. Mr. Kratt, welcome to the show, sir.
Jacob, thanks so much. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure having you on the show, sir. And on my left hand, as usual, I'm lucky to have Attorney Donna Sullivan. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Donna Sullivan. We did 1 or 2 interviews with her, and that interview was fantastic. I had a good experience. Let's meet Donna Sullivan. Donna, as usual, I'm really happy to have you on this show. But I miss my Papa Hammock. Wish he's here.
He is, in spirit. And as always, it's a pleasure to be with you.
Thank you. Ed, I'll ask you one question. How long you are familiar with the Queens District Attorney's Office and Richard Brown's administration?
Well, I've been a criminal defense attorney for close to 35 years, and so I had experience with Richard Brown's District Attorney's Office for his entire tenure.
During this time, as there's a lot of rumor on the street, there's a lot of whispering on the street that for the last 10-15 years, he had a medical condition and he couldn't even run daily operation. Was it concerning defense attorneys or citizens of Queens counties, or you think there was some lack of supervision at Queens County?
Well, I will say that the reputation among the bar of the city of New York, and specifically Queens County, was that towards the end of Mr. Brown's tenure, his office was really being run by his deputy staff, and that the decisions, day-to-day decisions, as well as long-term decisions, were being made by his deputies rather than Mr. Brown.
So, is it fair to the citizen of Queens County that they elected someone to make important decisions as a Queen's District Attorney's Office. He is not physically and mentally capable. His deputies are making those decisions. They did not elect those deputies to make those decisions.
No, I tend to agree with you there, Jacob. You know, when the district attorney himself is not in a position, either physically or whatever, to lead and make the decisions, then yeah, I think it's somewhat unfair that he is still acting as the district attorney of Queens County.
Donna, I have to ask you this question. Richard Brown is well respected at the beginning. He was a judge and he achieved some of the things in Queens County. We have to recognize it.
Absolutely.
But at the end of his term, there was 3 or 4 subjects become so controversial. Number one, there was a rumor, as a matter of fact, that he was not the resident of Queens County. He was living in Westchester County. Number 2, physically and mentally he was not capable of running day-to-day operation. He couldn't even recognize his own children. Number 3, his deputies were making a decision, those who are not elected by the people. Number 4, why, lots of people ask, why then Richard Brown is not leaving that office? Why he is holding that office for? It's like a pope don't want to leave the pulpit. What is your view of these people's complaint that they're complaining all along?
Well, I don't know for a fact that any of the items that you just listed are indeed true. I heard the same rumors as you many times over. And it was also reported to me by various sources of people that there was a major concern, I think, not only among the defense bar, but among the community in general, that D.A. Brown was not up to performing at the level that he should have been, at the level that everyone would expect a district attorney to perform. So my opinion is simply this: if you are asked to do a job, particularly if you're elected to do a job, and you're not able to do it for regardless of the reason, you have an obligation to say, I cannot do this, and make arrangements for you to leave and for someone who can to come in. I don't know, I suspect, I know a lot of people had their suspicions that his reasoning had to do more with a political base rather than a personal reason for himself, but I don't know that. I cannot really make a statement about that. I can only give you the speculation and my personal opinion.
I went to a public event. The public event was a forum that all the 7 candidates who is running for Queens District Attorney's Office, there's at least 20 people approached me. He says, Jacob, wasn't it a greed of Richard Brown himself or his people, those who are running the show, that holding that office and holding Richard Brown as a district attorney just to collect the paycheck? Was it a greed for power and money, or there is something else? They don't care about citizen. Is there any way we can respond to this?
Well, and what I would say is this. We've never heard a response to any of these accusations from either Richard Brown, who's now deceased, and or his representatives, the people that are currently operating the office. These issues have never, to my knowledge, been responded to or addressed. And why not? And why weren't they further pursued if they were indeed based on fact? I don't know. It does lead you, if you allow your mind to travel and if you're a reasonable person, it's very normal for you to start to speculate about, well, what is the reason behind this? And I think that's when you have people draw conclusions that may not be correct, but they could be correct in their minds based on the information that's provided. And in this situation, information was never really provided. I think one of the difficulties with this whole situation, Jacob, is that public officials are to be held. They are to be held at a higher level. You're representing the public. And I think frequently, certainly not all the time, thankfully, but frequently people lose sight of that. They get into a position and they're so into their position or they're so into what they're doing, they lose sight of the fact that it's not about them. It's about the job and the people that they were elected to represent. And I suspect, based on all of the suspicions that I've heard and the rumors, as you have, that things got confused in that park. Things got
But
confused.
when I was talking to the people, they are not confused. This is whatever rumor surfaced, they didn't respond, means all were truth. Richard Brown never came out and says, no, I'm the captain of the ship. He never did that.
No, not to my knowledge.
Okay, I'll conclude Richard Brown's subject in a minute. I'll
Sure.
just make further one comment. You remember when Richard Brown says, I'm not running, and I had a conversation with the attorney named Donna Sullivan, and I told her that he's going to be dead before his term over.
You did. You did. I absolutely do remember you telling me that. You did.
That he's not running for he's not running for another term. He will be dead within a month or two, Donna. I want you to watch.
You absolutely.
And guess what happened?
No, you absolutely called that. Absolutely. I will attest to that.
I'll leave that
You
one.
did say that.
Well, Jacob, don't tell Donna that same thing about me, please.
I'm not going to say that, but I'll ask. Right?
I would just say this. I think that the timing is really fortuitous for the election for district attorney, because I think the Queens District Attorney's Office has been in significant disarray for a long period of time. And I think if you ask practitioners, defense attorneys, what their opinion of the Queens District Attorney's Office, I think it would be similar. I find it very difficult to get any sort of consistent and meaningful results on cases that I handle. I don't see that the leadership of the Queens District Attorney is strong. I don't see that their policies have changed at all. So hopefully we're going to be entering a new era where the Queens District Attorney's Office will be significantly different in a better way.
Ed, I wanted to ask you a completely different question. Richard Brown is gone. Lots of people are talking about his legacy. In my opinion, his legacy is Manhattan County has a criminal conviction review unit. Kings County has conviction review unit. Bronx has. Staten Island has. And it is Richard Brown. He did not allow conviction review unit in Queens County because he did not wanted anyone to see that the way they are breaking the law, they are making mockery of the justice system in Queens County. Would you provide any comments that he successfully?
Well, what I will say is that despite the fact that these other counties have organized conviction review units, this should have been done years ago. And I think that the fact that Queens County has not had that unit speaks to a number of issues, speaks to the issues of competence, and it speaks to the issues of cover-up, and speaks to the issues of,
I agree.
of let's, whatever our policies are, these are the right policies, and whatever happens at a trial, these are the right results. And we're seeing these days, and especially since the era of DNA has come in, that a lot of these cases and a lot of these policies are really unfortunate and bankrupt. But yeah, I would say that Queens District Attorney's Office certainly is well back in the pack in terms of conviction review. But I would say that across the board for Manhattan and Brooklyn and the Bronx and Staten Island. These are units that should have been established a long time ago. I think that what happens is when the press highlights deficiencies, that spurs district attorneys into action, more on a CYA basis than sometimes on an ethical basis. But That being said, the press, I think, has influenced the policies of the district attorney's office significantly.
I have, legacy-wise, I have to share something. Before Mr. Brown died, he made one decision with the former Congressman Joe Crowley in a closed door, and they selected one candidate who is going to take over his position. And there was a clause came out, that condition, that person will take over Queen's Diaz's position, and he or she is going to keep all of the employees, all of the key position in place. He or she is not going to replace them. They are going to be at the office. Most of the people will be there. There would not be any reform. It's like same way, the way it was running in the past, they are going to keep running Queen's Diaz's office that way. They selected Borough President Melinda Kurtz, that they nominate him behind the closed door and says, Queen's District Attorney is going to endorse Melinda Kurtz. Now, I don't have any problem with Melinda Kurtz. Melinda Kurtz is a good borough president. Melinda Kurtz, as a assemblywoman or state senator, I think she was holding previous another position. She did a fantastic job. No one is complaining that she's not an attorney. She is an attorney. She went to law school. She passed the bar exam. But there is issue. She never practiced law, either civil or criminal. A person never went to the court, not one. She didn't claim that I represent one client in a criminal court or in a civil court. Who was running a state assembly position or a state senate position and running a borough president. Everyone knows that what is the role of the borough president and how much power they do. Now, it seems like she's going to get elected, because that's the way Queen's Democratic Party was selecting people. Whoever they select, they get elected. What is your view of Borough President Melinda Kurtz, that she's going to take over Queen's Diaz's office?
Yeah, I don't have enough information about Melinda Katz's background to make a decision about her qualification.
I'm not talking about her. My question is, if a person went to law school and has the law degree, but never put his or her feet in the court system, never represented.
Well, that's definitely a cause for concern. And when you couple that with the information that you just provided, that a condition of her endorsement is that she'll keep the hierarchy, the current hierarchy in place, that's even more of, I think, a problem, because basically if that's in fact the arrangement, she basically would be a figurehead rather than a leader and a person who would be able to guide the district attorney's office in a different direction.
Donna, for the last 28 years, citizen of Queens County didn't have the fair representation at the Queen's Diaz's office. There was a district attorney, Richard Brown. He was okay for the last 10, 15, at the beginning, 10, 15 years, and after that, his deputies were making a decision at the Queen's Diaz's office. After 30 years, within these 30 years, Richard Brown did not allow one primary election for that position. Mm-hmm. Not one election he did not allow. The people tried to run against him. Do you know what he did? He used the judicial system to disqualify that candidate so that no one can run against him. Now, after 30 years, people have opportunity to elect their district attorney. At this time, Democratic Party of Queens County give the choice to the people. We are going to select someone who has a law degree, never went to the court once to represent in a civil court or in a criminal court, never run 300 attorneys, never run 400 administrative staff, almost 600, 700 people, and they're saying that person will be your district attorney. Is it fair to the citizen of Queens County?
No, I don't believe it is fair to anyone. I think that's what's lost. We've lost it here in Queens. We've lost our perspective. We've gotten so wrapped up into these other issues that we really, I feel, we all need to sit down and look at the situation for what it is. There's been a lot of talk. I saw a portion of the debates among the candidates that was on New York One. I've read some articles. And what's disturbing to me is that I've read and I've heard what each candidate is not going to do. I'm not going to do this, and I'm not going to do that, and I'm going to make sure that we don't have this anymore. What I don't hear
That what
is
they are
what
going to
I am going to
do.
do. And in order to have some kind of a plan that makes sense, a plan that really is a thoughtful, analytical plan that has real meat to it, you really have to have, I believe, an understanding of what the entire system is about. So in other words, it's not just about, poor people are, which they are, poor people are being discriminated against. This group is being discriminated against. So what we're going to do is we're just not going to have this anymore. We're not going to do this anymore. Well, that does not remove the problem of the discrimination. And those kind of problems are much more, they're deeper in the roots of an office and in a community than in a simple action.
Right.
So what my biggest concern and problem with the current election is I'm not hearing what we're going to do. It also seems to me that there seems to be a lack of understanding. To my surprise, even amongst all of the candidates, I was quite surprised based on some of the credentials and experience of some of them, that they seem to really lack a full picture, a full understanding of what it is that a district attorney is responsible for doing. The district attorney does not legislate. He or she does not pass laws.
No, they don't legislate. No.
They don't. And there seems to be, from some of the information that some of the candidates have stated, that they seem to think that that's what they're going to do. Well, they're not. They have really three functions. The first function is to run the office. And as you said earlier, and I totally agree with you, you don't just wake up one morning and say, I think I'm going to run 300 people or 400 people in an office and just think you're just going to know how to do it. Having said that, that's one of the first, one of the three main objectives and responsibilities of a district attorney in any county. The second is investigation. And I think this is where what you were referring to earlier, Ed, and your conversation about the convictions and integrity. The investigative stage of any criminal conduct is critical. The district attorney has the responsibility of the investigation. The third part is prosecution. What are we going to charge? Who are we going to charge? How are we going to charge? What does the law allow us to do? So although some of this can certainly be learned, absolutely, no one goes in with 1,000% credentials and knowledge base to just become district attorney. But there has to be an understanding of, number one, your role, and number two, how your role and your office's role plays in this whole arena of criminal justice. There's a lot of other administrative agencies that you're going to be dealing with on a daily basis. Corrections, probation, parole, ICE, we can go on and on. Homeland Security. I mean, Jacob, we can sit here all morning, about that. Bottom line is you have to not only be aware of the fact that they're there, you have to be aware of the fact of the intricacies, the involvements, the roles of these various agencies. And if you understand all that I've just set forth, I think then you're in a much better position to create and to start getting the creative juices going about, well, what can I do to improve the situation here?
Donna, that's a fantastic answer, comprehensive answer, so that people would understand. But Ed, I want you to do the follow-up. A person do not have any experience to run 300 attorney, don't have the experience, as Donna says. A prosecutor has to have experience in investigation. A person who has a managerial skill, who can manage 700 employees. A coordinator who can coordinate with a state, city, and federal agency. If that person been selected in a closed door by a Queen's Democratic Party and give it to the people and says, this would be your choice, do you think that person is the qualified one to become a Queen's DA, or you have a different opinion?
Well, I think that clearly those issues, as Donna has outlined, including the experience, the administrative experience in running a large staff, is crucial, obviously, to the proper functioning of the district attorney's office. So I would say, without that experience, I think that certainly that's a large issue that someone should consider in determining who he or she is going to vote for. One thing that concerns me about the candidates that are running at this point is that they all seem to have jumped on the same progressive bus as the others. No matter what their past has been or whatever their politics have been, right now progressivism is being accepted as the standard to apply. And I know that a number of those candidates, their pasts have not been consistent with what they express to be their progressive attitudes. So I think there's a danger here of, and Donna alluded to it also, what I'm not going to do as opposed to what I am going to do. And I think that these issues have not been thought through enough. I think that this is sort of endemic in the political process. I'm going to latch on to whatever is vibrant and acceptable, and I can promote, i.e., progressivism, as opposed to let me take a look at what this policy will mean in the long term, even beyond the district attorney's office. And one of the examples I would give is the issue of fare beating in the city. District Attorney Cy Vance has determined that he will not prosecute fare beaters. Unfortunately, there's a statistic now that 20% of the people in New York do not pay the fare. And with the MTA in such bad shape, they're losing millions of dollars on people not paying the fare. Now, it's certainly understandable if someone cannot afford the fare, that's a problem that should be addressed. And I think Mayor de Blasio has started to address that problem, from a practical political perspective. But for a district attorney to say, I'm not going to prosecute this, is basically eliminates any deterrence to people who might otherwise be deterred from fare beating. So there's an example. Every candidate I've seen is, well, I'm not going to prosecute fare beating. Well, that's.
But they're not the one, as Donna says, they're not the one legislate. They cannot legislate or create any law whom to prosecute and whom not to.
Exactly. Exactly. That's a good point that Donna has raised.
Yep.
Because the district attorney has to enforce the law.
Exactly. So how they're saying I'm not going to prosecute them and they're not the decider. That law has been created by at the state assembly and senate and by the federal government. They don't have that power. And another thing, I have to push. Progressive People has a candidate. Her name is Tiffany Caban. Tiffany Caban, young girl. She used to work for Public Defender's Office. Has 4 or 5 years of experience, and she defended some of the people, and as a matter of fact, she was not even the lead attorney. She was the assistant to the lead attorney who defended, or some of the things she did. Grew up, born in Woodside, grew up in a project. Her father was a normal XYZ individual like me and other people. But here's the issues. Tiffany Caban has no experience in investigation, never did any prosecutorial job, never handled more than 2 or 3 people. How this person can claim that I'm the candidate she's asking people to vote for her and she thinks she's qualified. In your view, a person with no managerial skill, no prosecutorial experience, no experience in investigation, do you think that person can be a district attorney and run successfully and do the reform in Queens County District Attorney's Office?
Well, I mean, I don't know, again, what her particular skills are.
Let me push this way. We are not talking about Tiffany Caban. We are talking about a person is running. Just has a law license, never have any experience in prosecution, never have any experience in investigation, never has managerial skill, no coordination. Do you think that person is qualified to become district attorney and have that capacity to reform Queens District Attorney's Office?
Well, let me just say this. Those questions raise significant concerns that a voter would have as to whether they should vote for a person without that experience.
Well, if this voter is thinking that you are one of the experts who is an attorney in practice for 35 years, at least give them some feedback.
Well, let me put it this way. I think it would be extremely difficult for someone without that experience to come in and expect that that person would be able to turn the district attorney's office around in the ways that people hope that it will be turned around. And believe me, Queens District Attorney's Office at this point needs to be turned around.
Completely. Complete reform.
Completely.
And you don't think a person without experience, he or she cannot do it. So far, Queens Democratic Party selected somebody with a law license, has no experience in prosecution, have no managerial skill, has no experience in investigation, has no experience in coordination, but they're throwing that candidate and telling people, that's your choice.
It's, Jacob, it's unfortunately politics as usual. Especially in this day and age, in this era, politics is king, and it's unfortunate because the core issues are not being dealt with substantially and significantly. What's being pushed out here is basically a platform and with political backing. So yeah, no, it's certainly of concern.
Donna, it's not you, it's not me, it's not Ed. Everyone knows that Queens District Attorney's Office is right now is like almost what do you call?
Dysfunctional.
Dysfunctional, and it's like freshman's dorm in a university. Mm-hmm. That there is no law, there is no system, there is nothing. At this time, Queens citizen deserve a candidate who has right experience in prosecution, right and enough experience in investigation, right and enough experience in management and managing managing normal 400 administrative staff, that's one thing, but managing 300 prosecutor, it's a big deal, and has enough experience to do the coordination with the city, state, and federal agency. A person, can Queens County citizen afford another person who don't have those experience take Queens District Attorney's Office? And do you think that person can reform Queens DA's office?
Okay, no, I don't think Queens County can afford it. However, I caution you and the voters. You're never going, or at least let me say, in the majority of times, you're never going to find a candidate that meets all of the criteria that we would want or that we would need.
But they need some of the experience.
But let me say, because there's a comment I'd like to make tying into your question with the conversation you just had with Ed, and that's this. I am very strong about the requirement that someone has prosecutorial experience. In the world of criminal justice, and I will stand by this until my death, if you are in our world and you truly believe that you could never prosecute because you're a defense attorney, or that you could never defend because you're a prosecutor, then I strongly say you don't belong in this business. It's not about choosing a side and staying on that side. Clearly, there are two sides, but the two sides should be going in the same direction. And the same direction should be what's fair, what's reasonable, what's right, if you will, justice. We've lost that. We have lost it tremendously. And we're paying a big price for that loss. So although I hear what you're saying and I agree, I'm not limiting. I would not tell a voter to limit your selection on anyone that's only had prosecutorial experience, because I think anyone who has not or has had defense experience is quite capable or certainly has enough information to be able to do that.
What about if someone do not have neither prosecution and not defense experience?
Well, they have quite a lot to learn.
But I'm saying, as Mr. Ed says, that Queens County District Attorney's Office need complete reform.
It does.
How a person will go to that office without having any prosecutorial investigation, defense, or managerial skill, how they're going to do it?
We are going to see it, because if you look at the candidates, there are a couple that do have some of those qualities, they do.
I'm going to interject something.
Go ahead.
There is one candidate who also went to St. John University. He was when he was young, for the last 25, 26 years, he lives in Queens Village. He was a military prosecutor. He was a combat veteran. He was a special prosecutor for New York State Attorney General's office. He was also a assistant district attorney, as well as he was a bureau chief, or he was training district attorney's office under Charles Hines in Brooklyn. Right now, he's running for district attorney's position. Even though he's far behind, because lots of people don't even know his name, but he's running, he's showing up. What do you think of if there is a candidate? If I see in eyes, even though I know he's not winning, he's losing, he's fall behind, but this is one of the candidates who has the right experience, but people are not looking at him due to the fact that Queen's Democratic Party selected someone behind closed door. That person is not being even considered that he's a front runner, or people don't even realize that he's in the race. But don't you think we need a person who has at least investigation experience and running prosecution and manage the staff up to 300 staff? Don't you think we need one of those person?
I do. Coupled with, we need a person that wants to do the job for the community.
Exactly.
Not for themselves, because it's a job for me.
Yep.
It clearly, we all have to eat, we all want a job, but that's not what this particular job should be about. And it should be, what do I have to bring to the table? What do I have to bring to the job? And again, I go back to, what can I contribute? So even though I may not have all of the, if you will, qualifications for the job, but what do I have? What experience do I have? What talents do I have? What ideas do I have that I can bring in, and my team can come in, and we can then go forward? And that is what, in my opinion, Queens County deserves, Queens County desperately needs, and I don't know if Queens County is going to get it.
Well, Queens County is not going to get it because Donna Sullivan is not running for the district attorney.
Okay, so, well, Donna Sullivan, I don't know who is going to get elected in a Queens DA's office, but trust me, I don't think 2, 3 years, 4 years, someone can say, oh, do you know what? I reform Queens District Attorney's Office. Whoever is, if Melinda Kratt is going to get elected, 2, 3 years, people are going to see that every single people, those who used to work for Richard Brown, is still there on the chair. What does that mean? It means Melinda Kratt is doing nothing. People are going to see it. But Ed, so far in this race, I see a couple of people, 2 or 3 people has experience. One is Judge Lacey. Judge Laysak was a ADA with the Richard Brown, under Richard Brown, long time. He was the part of the system. And he is very well known to the friend of the prosecution. At the time he was ADA, he was looking for nothing but conviction. He was not looking for true justice. He was looking for nothing but conviction. Then he became judge, because Judge Brown and Congressman Joe Crowley give him nods. Okay, we're going to nominate him, because he was in their fraternity. So they have to put Judge Laysak. He's their boy. But he couldn't convince them to nominate Laysak for DA's office. He was judge, now he's not judge. I had the opportunity to speak to him a little bit of time. I asked him suddenly that in your lifetime, I have never seen you that you are talking about civil rights. You never went to South Jamaica, talk to those folks, those who are living over there. And suddenly, once you start running your campaign, you hire 2 African Americans for 2 hours part-time job, took a picture and just plastered it on your election wall. Oh, I'm the friend of minority. That person is one candidate. Another candidate is Captain Jose Nieves. He was a combat veteran. He was a military prosecutor. He was a prosecutor at the Kings County District Attorney's Office. And he was a special prosecutor under New York State Attorney General. These 2 candidates, I would say, and lots of people are saying these 2 candidates has credential. Out of these 2, did you have opportunity to see any one of those background?
Well, I have been familiar with Greg Laysak as a prosecutor and a judge.
Okay.
And what I will say is what concerns me about Mr. Laysak, as well as what concerns me about a number of the other candidates, is the same thing. It's the let me jump on the progressive bus because that's what the trend is these days, and that's what the people want to hear. I think the real question comes down to commitment. Are you committed to these ideals? Are you committed to change? Or is this just something that the public will respond to, and it's a real easy thing? Sure.
No, he just
progressive. AOC got elected on a progressive platform, so let me jump on that platform, and hopefully I'll be elected on the same platform. That's the real issue. I mean, you have to, any voter has to determine for themselves what that person's true commitment is, what their true philosophy is. And so I think that, knowing Mr. Laysak, I was somewhat surprised that all of a sudden he would have that progressive philosophy
tag on him.
Right.
There is also a rumor that if he's not going to win at the primary election, he's going to be the nominee for Republican Party in Queens County. Did you heard of this rumor? I already know.
No, I have not. But
already 3 people says Judge Laysak is preparing himself to become a Republican nominee if he fails to win in a primary.
Well, that's not totally unprecedented, but I think that.
So that shows also his character, that he's the guy, he's not a progressive, he's not a reformer, he just wanted to get elected by any means. If he has to bring some, what do you call, a rap artist or a Beatle, he's going to do that. He's a populist. Well, he's not realist.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Donna? By the way, Ed, I didn't ask you. Did you heard of this other candidate, Jose Nieves?
No, I have not. I haven't had no experience.
No experience. Okay. Well, that's the claim. He pointed out that I have this experience. I interviewed him on my show, and he says, Jacob, I did this. But I was looking at the statistics. He's far behind. I don't know why. This person, I kind of realized it, that he's the only combat veteran in this race. Other than him, there is no combat veteran, number one. And number two, he has really good experience under Charles Hines, even though Charles Hines has a very bad reputation in Kings County. But that's the experience
right.
Mr. Nieves has. And he was also a special prosecutor at the State's Attorney General's office. Well, let's see where he goes. At this point, Judge Lysak, he's saying he's one of the reformer. He's one of the progressive individual. So if we are talking about experience, this Jose Nieves and Mr. Lysak has experience. There is another lady is running. Her name is Betty Lugo.
Betty Lugo.
Betty Lugo is also. Betty
Yes.
Lugo is running. There is another candidate running, Mina Malik.
Yes.
Okay. There is a competition. Judge Lysak is making a plan. If he lost in a primary, he's going to push the Republican Party to nominate him. He's going to be the Republican nominee. Betty Lugo is doing the same thing.
Well, my question in response to that is, for the voters to decide, would he be changing his political party and running on the other side for himself or for the people that live in Queens County? That would be the question I would ask.
Okay. I think I already told you there is a candidate. I went to lots of forum. I interviewed 2 or 3 candidates already. My personal feelings, if you ask me, Melinda Kratt is not running for citizen or people of Queens County. She's running for herself. She need a place. Her borough presidency, how long? Everyone is thinking borough president is a dead position. She don't want to stay at that office. So where is her next move? So district attorney's office, probably she want to die as a district attorney. That's her position. And by the way, they're not talking about term limits. That's another question we're going to talk about it. But what do you think? That you put the cross question that are they running for themselves or running for the citizen? Answer is they're running for themselves, no matter what they're saying. Judge Lysak want to win the election by any means, whether he's progressive, if he need to put Tupac Shakur on his chest, or he's gonna put Biggie Small, it doesn't really matter. He just want to get elected. He need to be someone. That's the reason he's running. I believe Melinda Kratt, she's doing the same thing. What's his name? City Council member Rory Langsman, his term is over, so he's looking for a pocket. His wife already become Queens County judge or somewhere, so political gain he already made. So who left? We see no one got nothing is Jose Nieves, who claimed that he's qualified. I don't know how qualified it is because I don't know him personally. I just did a talk show.
Yes.
If you're talking about investigation, I was talking to a couple of people. I went to a couple of his forum. I went to a church where he gave a speech. Seems that guy was real. I don't know.
Well, I'm going to make this comment because I think it's really also critical that you're not only, when you elect someone as a district attorney, clearly you want them to have knowledge base, experience.
Right.
You want that information. But I think the other thing that you need in a district attorney is and we desperately need it in Queens, is somebody who's got some fire, some passion. And I don't mean in the sense...
You're not looking for someone, oh my God, I'm dead.
Same old, same old.
Yeah.
Or, well, that's what the law says, what can I do? Somebody who, and that's where, if you are into this, if you are really trying to do the job and you really live and breathe your job, the creative juices, they start going. And you start to come up with ideas, not only you personally, but I think you tend to surround yourself with people that are thinking. You want to get yourself in a situation where people are thinking, your people in your office are thinking. And they're not only thinking, but they're now implementing those thoughts into real concrete plans. So I think part of the whole issue with somebody that runs for district attorney has to be not only the credentials, but I think they have to have something in their personality that makes them really want to do this. They really want to do it. For all, if you will, or for most, let's say, of the right reasons. That they feel they have something to contribute and they want to roll up their sleeves and they want to get in there and do it.
And I think, Don, that what's important that every voter has to figure out is what the character is of each person running. The character and the commitment. And character is sometimes a very difficult thing to assess. But I think people have to go with their instincts. I mean, you mentioned Mr. Nieves, who appears to be qualified, and it seems that you were impressed by him to at least a certain extent. So you see in him the character and the commitment. If that is not there in the assessment of the voters, then don't vote for that person. No matter what they say about progressivism or whatever. If you don't feel that person has the character and the commitment to do it, then don't vote for them.
Ed and Donna, we are almost out of our time. Last question, one of the sad questions I have to ask you. A couple of days ago, I went to a church, and there was a conversation that they would like to, there is 3 or 4 people came in while I was there. And those people came from Tiffany Caban's campaign. They wanted the pastor accommodate her so that she can come and talk to the congregation. The answer came from pastor and his people. I didn't like that answer. They says, well, if Tiffany Caban was running for city council, I would consider it. If she is running for state assembly or some other position, I would have considered it. But I don't think she's qualified, and I was surprised because I wanted to interview the pastor. I says, why you think she's not qualified? Oh, first of all, she don't have none of the experience, and at the end, she adds something. That's why I says, I hate to ask that question. But, she's not straight. That pastor bring her sexuality and her choice and bring it to the table. I says, is it really matter that why you bring up that subject? I don't care. I don't look at the people's color. I don't look at the people's religion or his personal life. Do you think that really matter? Because his office is so clean or humble or religious. Why people have to act that way? Do you agree with that pastor or you disagree?
I totally disagree with the pastor.
Me too.
Totally. And I go back to the comment that Ed just made, which is a person's character and a person's commitment. And I add another C. I'm going to come up with the 3 C's here, Jacob. Competence, commitment, and character.
Wow.
And the person's sexuality
is irrelevant.
And a person's race, and a person's ethnicity, and a person's religion, and I'll go on and on. Keep coming.
Has
nothing to do with those 3. And if it does, then you have a problem.
I agree with you 200%. Donna, thank you so much.
Thank you.
You contributed so much to the citizen of Queens County and for my show. Thank you so much.
Always a pleasure. Thank you so much.
I'm going to see you again soon.
I'll look forward to it.
Jacob, it was a pleasure.
All I can say is vote for Donna.
We are looking for an opportunity. We are looking for an opportunity. We are looking for an opportunity. That's the way we would like to push it. And I promise, I'm not going to stop.
All right. Thanks, Jacob.
Thank you, Ed. Thank you very much.
Having me today.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, what can I say? There's a candidate. 7 candidate is running for Queens District Attorney's Office. Obviously, citizen of Queens County is going to elect someone who has proper experience, right mind. As Donna mentioned a couple of times, is that candidate is going to get elected for himself to explore his or her political ambition, or they are going to commit themselves for the welfare of the Queens County? Out of 7 candidates, within my conversation with these 2 important guests and other people, I'm not going to judge or misguide you that who is best candidate and who is not. Only thing I'm saying, that when you are talking about Melinda Kratt, she's a fantastic woman. Probably she has tons of good character that I'm not aware of. But one thing, I am completely informed that Melinda Kratt is an attorney and a good public official at the borough office, assembly, or state senate or somewhere else. But in order to get elected, the experience, qualification, and motivation a person need, she don't have it. That's my opinion. Still, you can vote for Melinda Kratt, but that's your choice. She don't have it. And on the other hand, she got picked by the Queen's Democratic Organization behind closed door. So that shows Queen's Democratic Party, they are not in touch with the citizen of Queens County. Okay, then there is another candidate, Judge Lysak. He has a prosecutorial experience, probably he's a good human being, I'm not aware of it, but his public persona is not that favorable. I went to South Jamaica, I went to East Elmhurst, I went to Rockaway, Far Rockaway, they're looking at him. They literally didn't hide their frustration. They says he's redneck. I don't know what that means. But still, he has prosecutorial experience. He was a judge. I'm sure he has bunch of experience. Can he reform Queen's DA's office? Probably he does. I don't know. But he has experience in prosecution. While he did he was a prosecutor under Richard Brown, there's a lot of rumor. Under Richard Brown, there's a lot of evidence. When they did the investigation, they planted evidence to get conviction. And Judge Lysak was part of it. Still, I cannot say that he did himself, but he was aware of it. You want to vote for him? Go for it. Then there is another person, Rory Langsman, same as Melinda Kurtz. Rory Langsman did nothing as a lawyer. Not in a civil court, not in a criminal court. He did not manage more than 5 people. But hey, he got, when he ran for state senate against Frank Panavan, guess what? He got less than 7% vote. Until Joe Crowley blessed him. Under a closed door, in a closed door, selected him for city council. God bless him. I love Rory Langsman. He's a good guy, friendly. You want to vote for him? Go. No problem. I'm with you. Now, there is another person who is running. Donna and lots of people think I endorsed him. Here is my point. I don't endorse. I endorse people who is qualified. There is no specific individual. I'm looking for a guy who should get elected for the Queen's District Attorneys to do 100% reform, has to have experience. Have experience in prosecution, has to have experience in investigation, and managerial skill, and coordination. And as Donna says, he or she should be committed for the welfare of the Queens County citizen. So, if Jose Nieves is that person, you can vote for him. If you think he's not real, don't vote for him. And there is a Betty Lugo, there is Mina Malik, I don't know whether I forgot anyone's name. Tiffany Caban, good individual, nice. She's fun to talk to. And she cares about people. She used to work for Public Defender's Office. My last question was not my favorable question. Well, she didn't say that she's not gay or lesbian. She's the candidate for LGBT, but we shouldn't talk about her sexuality, color, or religion or anything. She's running for a public office. If you're going to elect her, she's going to be a good public official. I'm sure about it. So don't tag anything. And I agree with Ed. He says lots of people are putting a tag onto their chest that they're progressive. What progressive? You remember Beatle was a very good popular team. Beatle CD been sold millions of copies. Now today, if you put Beatles CD, few people will buy, not everybody. So that popularity comes and goes. So today, everyone want to be a progressive, you can do that for the time being. But that tag would be removed. And don't forget, America is a capitalist society. When someone says with the name of the progressive, we are social democrat, Democrat, socialist, in the society there's a problem. Once you are putting that tag that I am democratic socialist, you are helping Donald Trump, you are helping Republican, you are helping some other folks. Hey, you can do that. Republicans are human too. They have the right to do politics and run the country. But if you think they are doing the right thing, look for the Republican candidate. And you will have a candidate in Judge Lysak and Betty Lugo. Thanks for watching us. And thank you. We'll come up with the more guests. And before June 25th, only thing I'm asking all of you, go to the polling booth and vote. whomever you like to vote. Just go